All right, so we're gonna do your T-test pre-conference. I know we have the meeting scheduled or your observation scheduled for the next couple of days, and then after that we will do a post-conference just to kind of go over like what I saw, how you felt about the lesson, whatever. Okay, so I have a couple questions for you. For the first question is, what are your students going to be learning the day that I come and see you, as well as just kind of go over some of the standards that you might be learning. So objectives, kind of thing, TEKS, however you list them for your students.
You're going to be coming into a AP dual credit pre-cal class. We're learning trig functions right now. So the topic that we're going to be talking about is solving trig equations, which is in the pre-cal TEKS as like 5N is solving trig equations with specific domain restrictions. And for my kids taking the AP test, it is unit 3.10 on the College Board CED.
Okay. So with that, how does that specifically line up with what they're going to be doing for like a test? Like, is it part of their next test? Is it the whole of their next test? Like, are they specifically doing these objectives for the next couple weeks, or is it something that's going to lead into the next unit?
So unit 3 that we've been working on is about simplifying trig expressions and solving trig equations. So there's a lot of identities that we've learned to use. The solving equations specific topic that we're going to talk about today is just one of the things in unit 3 that encompasses a variety of different algebraic manipulation techniques with the trig identities and simplifying and solving, and going back to the unit circle that we learned in unit 1.
Okay. Oh, I like that. So you're going back to that stuff to bring it into how it's relative for this next lesson.
Yes.
With that being said, you said a lot of things, like not a lot of it, some of it has to do with the algebraic functions. Do the class I'm going into, are they all kind of on the same level of readiness? Is there lots of students that are like, I'm great at algebra, but trying to go any further than algebra, like it's non-existent? Or like, do you have different levels, or are they all kind of just on the same playing field?
Well, they're all in an advanced math class, but even within that, there's a variety of different skill levels based on their previous experiences and just what they've retained from Algebra 1, Algebra 2, geometry. So at the very beginning of Unit 3, we did a factoring review.
Okay.
So I know that factoring is one of the topics that a lot of kids struggle with and just don't feel confident in. So that was one of the first things that I do before we jump into doing those types of strategies with the trig, just to remind them that they can do that stuff.
Okay, I like that.
And then as part of the lesson that you're gonna see, I'm going to kind of break down some of it to refresh on like some of the unit circle stuff we did at the beginning of unit 1, like this semester. So we'll break it down so that we're starting with previous knowledge that we should have and building on that.
Okay, that's fun. I don't think I ever remember learning the unit circle. I'm sure I did. I took pre-cal, but that was a very long time ago, so it's a no for me. Okay, so most of the traditional classes I've been in, like math-wise, it's literally just a sit and get. Not so much interaction. Interaction as far as like things for the kids to do other than copy things down. So what can I see, or what should I see during your lesson besides just you standing and teaching? And that's fine. Like, are you someone that moves around a lot? Do you have the kids kind of answer call back? What kind of things will I be seeing?
There is some direct teach with the new topics. I try to structure my, what I call notes in math, where I get them to answer some guided questions to lead them where I want them to go. And then, like, I'll do an example and then I let them try one on their own. If we're doing something that's building on very specific content from a previous unit, like the unit circle.
Mm-hmm.
So for this unit, after we do some calculator active problems, then we're going to switch to the no calculator ones, and at that point we're going to like stop and review unit circle and how to use it.
Okay.
So sometimes for that stuff, instead of having them go back to their notes and just doing the examples, I like to use the whiteboards for the kids to like, that way I don't have one kid yelling out the answer every time.
Yeah.
And so they all have a chance to answer and get some feedback.
So will each of your students have a whiteboard, or will it be like I have a whiteboard and I get the marker and then we'll switch and you get the marker?
No, every kid has a whiteboard and a marker.
Okay.
So they're all working at the same time. They can work together. They can talk, whatever. But that way, they have a little bit of time to process and can check their answer and get some feedback. And if it's not right or if it's partially correct, they can get that feedback and fix it.
Okay.
Before we move on, and then I'll ask to make sure if there's any clarifying things that we need to go over before we go either to the next example or the next like idea in the lesson.
Okay. I like that. I definitely like that. I'll be able to see all the students doing stuff versus just the one that probably would write every answer every single time.
And I try when I'm doing that to move a lot. Right now I'm tethered, my iPad is tethered to my screen at the front.
Okay.
So the connection doesn't work well when I unplug it.
Oh, yeah, of course.
So
Why would it?
Sometimes I will put it up there and then I'll take a lap just to check in
Okay.
to make sure everybody's actively participating.
Okay.
But the class you're coming into it's a big class. So
Okay.
It's a little tight.
So, like, chairs pushed in is a lot different than when the students are all, like, as far as
yeah,
the room
like,
moving
back to back.
moving around. Good. Good.
It's like
Just
I will
hop
get over
from
there
one to
going
the next.
around the table.
I like that because that definitely lends it more to, yes, maybe kind of thing, because you can't, like, by the time you walk over to one part of the room, then these kids are trying to get your attention over here.
Right.
So, okay, that makes sense. I like that. With that being said, are there other things you look for? Like, yes, they're writing up answers. What about those students that may not be writing the answers? Or let's say that you're moving on, but that one kid is still kind of writing. Do you have like a pause that you do? Or if they're still going to answer and they hold it up and you've moved on, are you still acknowledging them? So how do you know whether they're writing it on a board or not, that they understand? Like, or at least understand enough to move on with you?
Yeah, since it's covering a topic that is prior information, they have, like, most of them are pretty confident. So the ones that get it and get it quick are quick to hold their boards up.
Okay.
I know that some of them are writing things down by watching their neighbors,
Okay.
which I'm still okay with, but it just by watching where their eyes, like tracking, I can see how many of them are, yes, I have this, I don't need help, versus I'm looking around to see what everybody else is doing.
Okay. Oh, that's a good
And
one.
then the kids, like, I definitely will have a couple of kids that don't hold up boards every time, and I could probably tell you which kids those are going to be beforehand.
Yeah. Okay.
But usually I'll make a mental note or just jot down some initials on my copy of my notes that I'm using, or on my attendance sheet, and make sure that once they start the independent practice that I go back and check in with them,
Okay.
because I don't like to call them out in the middle of a really big class, but just a note to go back and check in.
Okay, I like that. I do like that. That's kind of a great way for you to make sure that you're checking in on those students that aren't the most vocal student in the classroom. Yeah. Okay. Okay. So speaking of those kids that aren't the most vocal or that do tend to struggle, have you noticed it's the same student struggling from concept to concept, or does it just kind of move around depending on what you're talking about?
It definitely varies on the unit.
Okay.
Like, there are some kids that are confident in everything. Like I have a couple kids that math just comes naturally easily, and I don't have to check in on them because if they don't get it, they're definitely they're gonna figure it out themselves.
Yeah.
Just they're driven and their brains work that way.
Mm-hmm.
The kids that are struggling. No, I forgot what you asked.
Hold on. Let me try to backtrack. The ones that are struggling versus the ones that get it every time. Is it usually the same students from concept to concept?
Oh yeah. If it's a very
Hello.
very cumulative concept, like the unit circle with the trig stuff, there will be parts that if you struggled with the unit circle, you're going to struggle with parts of this entire trig unit.
Okay.
A lot of times within the units, there's individual skills that kids can find success in, like one part of it.
Okay.
So
That's handy.
there's some of both in a variety of units.
Okay.
So, and I think I try to isolate a couple of those skills because a lot of kids come in with like zero confidence in their math skills. And if I can do anything but help raise their confidence a little bit, then I consider that a win. So if I can find little topics that they can grasp and they can do this, then it builds their confidence when they're attacking the problems that they struggle with.
Oh, I love that. I think that's great because you're not wrong. Like, no, there's probably less than 10% of the population in a school that is confident in their math skills and probably hate every math class they've ever been in, or that's like the source of the thorn in their side every day or every other day or whatever. So, I mean, even just getting them excited, that's too big of a word. Confident in some of the skills.
Yeah.
Hey, I do know how to add and subtract. Yes, I got it every single time. How do you, those students that continually struggle, and then you have those students that, yes, I get it, I can answer it without you even finishing the question. How do you make sure that those students are also getting challenged? The ones that are like, yes, 7, 6, 63, like they could teach the class too, honestly. And I know with a dual credit and an AP class, like those are very few students, but how do you keep them engaged during things that seem so easy for them?
The ones that I have this year do a really good job of interacting with their tables.
Okay.
So they do a good job of like peer tutoring, and because they have more confidence on some of the other kids, they like to help and kind of reteach things.
I love that.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
I love that.
I also have some kids that will ask for more challenging questions.
Okay.
So if I have those readily available, like I'll pull stuff out, and because I've got prior years practices, or I can put them on AP Classroom to try some of the College Board level stuff. So there's a couple of different resources that I can use to pull some other questions. I've also taken some where instead of going through all the examples in the notes, sometimes if it seems like there are some of the kids that are getting it, I will pull some of the kids that grasp things very quickly and put them up at the vertical whiteboards with like one of the problems from the notes that I haven't gone over all the content.
Okay.
And have them try to work on those while I'm still going over stuff with the rest of the class.
Okay.
So then they get to teach how to do the next example instead of me teaching it.
Okay. I love that. I think, so what I hear you saying is that, yes, those kids that struggle will start to gain confidence, but you're not allowing that to keep your other students from doing more in this class. Like, yes, they can take a different class like calculus, whatever, next year, but just getting the more global aspect of, hey, this is pre-cal and I can learn all these other things. Do any of your kids like talk about or have asked, I guess, the start of this year, like, when am I going to use this?
It's about a weekly discussion.
Yeah, okay. Okay, me too. Every time I decide that I'm doing something, when am I going to use this? Okay, all right. Okay, so this question, I want to make sure that I ask it the way it's written. What aspects of your instruction are you most focused on this year? Like, you want to get better at taking attendance. You want to get better at, going from table to table, or you want to get better at delivering the material. So what aspect of that are you trying to improve, or at least work on, make a conscious effort every single lesson, class period, week kind of thing?
I think I love math.
Mm-hmm.
And I know none of my kids love math as much as I love math. So the sit and get of the notes that is very traditional, I don't have any trouble with that environment because I like to do the math.
Yeah.
But that's not always the most engaging or practical way for the kids to get it.
Mm-hmm.
So this year I'm trying to do less like spoon feeding of each and every topic or example. Like, I want to do enough examples that they have what they need as resources.
Okay.
But if I can let them use the whiteboards to work on stuff, to review things, or have them try examples on their own so that they're more engaged and more interacting more throughout the notes part of it, I think they get more out of it. It also holds them a little bit more accountable for like paying attention as they're, because a lot of kids are like, well, I wrote everything down, I was paying attention. I'm like, those are not the same thing.
Right, writing down and paying attention.
The more interactive that I can make it, where they are doing the math, or at least talking through the math, then the more they are getting out of it instead of just the sit and get.
Yeah. And that's an interesting concept, because a lot of times when people say, moving away from direct teach, so many teachers are like, well, this isn't an exciting class. Like, it's not an exciting subject. It's not there's no fun activities like a different class is. But even just getting your kids to stand up or write on a board, because all kids want to write on the walls, like, just that is enough excitement because they don't have to sit down. So, like, I think you mentioning that is real refreshing, because a lot of people are like, well, I can't make it exciting. Nobody likes it. Okay, but just stand them up. So I think you trying to do that is a great way to make it more exciting for those kids to be more engaged. Okay, so long-term goal for this year. What are you hoping to see? Like, your kids are in AP dual credit. Like, are we looking at, hey, I need this percentage of my kids to be passing. I need this percentage of my kids to make this on the AP exam. Or are you just hoping that more kids sign up for those things?
Ultimate goal, I would like to increase numbers in my classes, for sure. I don't really try to set goals on what I want kids to score on AP exams, because so much of that is, like, I do my part and they have their part.
Yeah.
So I don't want to take credit, nor, like, positive or negative.
Yeah.
For what they are responsible for knowing.
Oh, for sure.
So, like, if my kids do poorly, some of that might be on me, but some of it is also on them.
Yeah.
So, yes, of course, I want to prepare my kids, but the scores they get, I don't like to use that as a benchmark for, like, how well I'm doing.
Okay.
Because a lot of kids, especially in pre-cal, they're taking the AP test because it's offered, but they're going to go on to upper level math, and whether they get the college credit through that exam is not necessarily their priority so much as the GPA.
Oh, that's true.
Really, I want my kids to gain confidence, and I want them to feel successful and enjoy being in a math class even when it's difficult.
Yeah, that's amazing. Okay, so this is really the last question. That class is big. Okay, you told me that class is big. Is there a place that you would like me to sit that is not in your way,
You can
if it matters.
sit at my desk,
Okay.
or I have an extra desk like over on the side
Mhm.
where no one sits because I started out with more kids. So I have one empty desk, or my desk is fine because I'm usually either at the front or walking around.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so probably I'll come in. Probably not right at the beginning, so you can kind of get class settled, take attendance, things like that. Because I know usually the first 5 minutes are crazy in most classes, and then I'll just probably not sneak in because I'm gonna have to crawl across all the kids, and then just kind of I'll get settled, and I'm not. You don't have to worry about like I'm not gonna give you a clue or a thumbs up. I'm just gonna come and sit down. Okay. Do you have any questions for me?
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
I mean, is there anything specific that you're looking for? Like, there's a specific focus or anything for, like, I know several years ago having objectives on the board was like a focus.
I think an objective on the board is a focus every year, but I think it's not something that I'm like, oh my gosh, that's points off if you don't have an objective written on the board. Like if I come in and I can clearly see what you're working on, not that I will know how to do it at all, but I can clearly see there's a method and a goal, that I'm not looking for you to write something on the board. I think what I'm looking more is your engagement with the kids.
Mm-hmm.
Whether or not you are, not even you are, like, because you are a seasoned teacher. So I'm looking at your engagement with the kids. I'm looking at where you are in position in the classroom. I'm looking at, it's real easy to get stuck with those kids that are loud.
Mm-hmm.
So are you also like walking over those kids that do get it? Hey, you good? Just kind of like those kind of things. Just because it's, like I said, it's real easy to get caught up with those kids that always struggle or loud,
Mm-hmm.
and just kind of forget about everybody else learning in the classroom, and then just their interaction with you. Like, yes, they are participating, writing things down. And I know it's kind of weird when somebody else is observing, like your kids are always on their best behavior. Great. Then let's see what the best behaved class
Right.
can actually do. And hey, now you can reference, hey, remember that other day when y'all were all participating?
Yeah.
Let's do that. And so I think that's really what I'm looking for. I have zero idea what you're teaching. Like I said, I don't remember the unit circles. So it's really just, hey, how are you delivering it? And then if I can be of any support after that, like if I see some things, hey, I saw these things. I think that, and those things we'll talk about after the lesson. Whenever we scheduled that post conference, then we can talk about those things. So, but mainly I'm looking for the yes, you did that versus the oh my gosh, what are you doing? Because that's not my job.
Gotcha.
Okay. All right. Sweet. Thanks. I look forward to it.
It just looks like an office.
Okay. Here's my tables.
Where are you sitting?
Over here.
Oh.
That's you. That's your
Okay.
little. I put teacher desk over here, but like that's where you.
That's where I teach from.
Yeah. 27. Did you have 27 that day?
Yeah.
Okay, I was like, I kept trying to count. I was
That
like, what's
class is
happening?
down to 27.
Was it in the 30s?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, let's go. Oh, I already have.
You already recorded?
I already started recording. That's fine. That's fine. Okay, so how do you think your lesson went that day?
Overall, I think it actually went better than I expected because it's one of the tougher topics that we cover all year, and because of the kind of wide range of skill levels, it's like I never know what to expect as far as how much they're gonna get it the first time.
Okay.
So they were actively engaged, which for that class is sometimes unusual. So I think using some of the whiteboards and some of those strategies during the notes went well.
Yeah.
I don't think I lost anybody.
No.
So
Yeah.
overall I think it went okay.
Okay. It seemed like a really big class. Is that your biggest class that you have?
Yes.
Okay. So I know sometimes that's a struggle to get all the participation the whole time. And honestly, from the start, like when you said, hey, let's get your notes out and let's get started, it was like they all had their stuff and they were ready to go, which to me it always seems silly. But I mean, that's just a testament that you have that routine with them. Hey, they know what to expect once you get in position to start the lesson or whatever. So it was.
I will say that class is my toughest class as far as like it's the biggest, they're the loudest, they're the most social. Like getting them on task and getting them to stay on task is a struggle.
Okay.
So we had implemented a new seating chart the day before.
Okay.
So I think they were still maybe in shock of the new arrangement, but it seems to be working well.
Okay.
I even had some kids that made some comments that were like, yeah, I think as much as I want to sit by my friends, I do think I get more work done.
Yes. I wish they would trust us a little bit more to know, hey, if we spread you out for at least the lesson,
yes,
you'll pay a little bit more attention.
Yeah.
That's perfect. Just kind of noticing some stuff in your room. Groups, I hate the way the shape the desks are. Like,
same.
so groups are like the best way to set it up. I like that on the board you had color coded, like the different classes have a different color marker. So like this class they were learning this, the other class was, I think one was pink, one was blue.
Oh, for my different courses.
Yeah, just kind of like so the kids know to come in and that's the color. Do you use the same color every time?
Yes, pre-cal is pink.
Okay.
Dual credit calculus is green.
Okay.
PC Calc is blue, and IB Math is purple.
Oh, I love that. I think that's so fun. I did like that you reminded them about a quiz on Friday. All of your students from the start were like focused. So they're, paying attention to you. And you said it's probably because of the new seating chart, they're just kind of getting used to it. But even then, your kids are not freshmen, so they've kind of gone to school with each other a little bit. So even with that, sometimes you have the banter that goes on the whole class, and that I didn't see that, and so that's just a testament to your teaching and up there and doing. They know to pay attention, or else they're like you're just gonna go because they're old enough to. Let's just move on. You were asking lots of how questions to the whole group, which is really great. One of the things. Somebody said something and you responded with, remind me to tell everybody about that. And then you kind of moved on. And then when you went back, you specifically said, hey, thank you for reminding me. And then, hey, everybody, don't forget. I remember those words coming from you, which is real important because you acknowledge that student in, hey, you saw something. Now let me tell everybody else what they too can possibly see. There were lots of answers from the same people out loud every time you asked a question. Is that normal?
Yes. I would say that there's definitely some that usurp the answer pool. Okay. And I know there's research done on like calling kids and being like pulling names or randomly calling on kids. I feel like in the advanced class, I don't think any of the kids, if I called on them, would shy away from trying to answer. And if they didn't know, I think they would be honest and like, hey, can I phone a friend? Like, we have it's a comfortable enough situation. But I also remember being a student and not wanting to be called on if I didn't know it. So that's why I hesitate to call on kids.
Yeah.
There are specific kids that talk more than the others out loud when we're doing the notes. But I don't think any of them would be afraid to ask a question if they had a question. And I do have specific kids in that class that ask some really interesting questions. Yeah, I noticed that. Like, where is this going, or what are possible extensions of this, or how or why does this happen? That I don't want to make them feel like they're not free to ask those types of things.
Yeah, and so, I think that sometimes you run into the not letting them talk out loud will stifle that
Mm-hmm.
creative question asking. And so like that was just something I wrote on, like a question of, do you ever call on people, and when you do, is it those same people that are always talking out loud? But you answered that, like you just answered that.
Well,
So
and I do think that is a thing that varies from class to class.
Mhm.
So you came in during my 4th block, and there's a variety of kids in that class because it's a big class
Yeah.
that answer,
Mhm.
and it is kind of the same, probably third of the group
Yeah.
that likes to answer. But in my 3rd block, like I have one kid that likes to answer every single question.
Okay. How do you
And-
stop that from happening?
I tell him to stop.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, I think that's okay.
and I make it like he gets excited when he knows something and is good at something, and he likes to show off.
Yeah.
And like I support that for a second,
Mm-hmm.
but then I make sure to remind them that not every unit is easy for everybody. Not every unit is hard for everybody, and
Yeah.
it's going to vary from person to person.
Okay.
So we're not going to make comments about how easy it should be when you may be struggling on the next one, like the roles are reversed.
Yeah.
So being able to think and process questions that I ask in your head without blurting out stuff
Mm-hmm.
gives other people a chance to also feel successful
Yeah.
and to answer questions.
Yeah.
So I think when I call on kids has more to do with the chemistry of the students in the class.
Yeah, okay.
Now that I'm thinking about it.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So.
That makes sense. One thing that I've seen in other classes is almost like a built-in pause. So you ask a question, or
Mhm.
before you ask the question, it's kind of a prompt to say, hey, before you answer out loud, I'm going to ask a question, and then I'm going to ask for volunteers. So instead of, you mentioned earlier about not wanting to call on students to call them out, because even if they know the answer, they might not want to say it out loud.
Mhm.
But giving them that pause to think lets the other students that might just take a second or two longer to process what you just said.
Mhm.
And then you're asking for volunteers. So those kids that do usually blurt out the questions, they're ready. I mean, they're ready before you finish answering the question or asking the question, but it gives those other kids a chance to validate their own thinking.
Yeah.
Versus automatically being influenced by
Mhm.
somebody else saying what the answer is. But it still gives those kids that are ready to answer, yes, I'm ready.
Mhm.
So asking for volunteers is just a different way to say, hey, I'm going to call on you without calling on those
No,
kids
I
that may be
like that. Yeah.
may be nervous. But it does give everybody thinking time.
Yeah, and that's probably where I need to work on that piece of it.
Yeah.
Just so that there are more kids that have time to process the question before there's
Mm-hmm.
things being yelled.
Yes. And too, further on, I mentioned when you guys started using the whiteboards, I thought that was great. All of them had a whiteboard. They all had a marker, but almost the same thing. Hey, before you hold up your boards,
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna say when to hold up your boards. So write it down, and then we'll hold up the boards, and then it gives that same processing time.
Okay.
Where I'm not influenced by your answer, and then I'm like, oh my gosh, I have zero idea. That's not even close. Maybe that's what I got. But it almost the same idea. Like, don't hold your boards up yet, and then ask for all the boards at the same time, which one might be a little bit harder for you to see all the boards, especially in such a big class, all at the same time. But still, like, now we have it almost gives you an opportunity to validate those kids that do take a little bit longer,
Mm-hmm.
at the same time that those kids have already answered it for like 2 seconds before them. But now you can look at them first before looking at those kids that are always whatever. So almost
Right.
the same time, just like a pause time for the kids
Mm-hmm.
to process. But I did like the fact that everybody had a board
Mm-hmm.
and a marker. So it was like, yes, let's go. Because who doesn't like writing with whiteboard markers? Okay, there was one point when you started working with a calculator.
Mm-hmm.
And I know you're writing on an iPad,
Mm-hmm.
and I know sometimes like being closer to the screen is easier connection purpose or if you have to plug in or whatever. Do you guys have access to like a calculator camera, if that, or a document camera, like kind of thing?
The document camera doesn't work well for showing like the actual camera. I mean, the actual calculator on the screen. The lighting is just terrible.
Okay, I didn't.
Screen.
Yeah.
But we do have a simulator. So one thing I'm researching, trying to figure out, because I teach from my iPad, and there's a couple of options for I can use the Promethean share, but then it takes my iPad screen and shrinks it.
Oh.
So if I hardwire my iPad in, it takes the whole screen, so it's just a better view. But when I do that, I have to change inputs if I want to use. There's not an emulator on the iPad because TI and Apple aren't friends.
Yeah, of course not.
So the emulator is on the PC, but in order to use that, I have to go to the teacher desk in the back of the room.
Yeah.
And back and forth to switch.
Yeah, that's annoying.
And if it was something that was very calculator heavy in the topic, then I would absolutely do that.
Yeah.
But this was kind of reviewing a topic that they were already familiar with,
Okay.
just in a new, using new graphs. But they had already used the skill in the last unit on the calculator.
Yeah.
So I wasn't teaching them something new. We were just kind of refreshing, reminding.
Yeah.
But we do have an emulator. Right now I'm trying to figure out if there's a way to screen share my iPad to the PC so that I could split screen where my iPad and the emulator are up at the same time.
Yeah. Okay.
Because I used to have that option, and now that program doesn't exist.
Oh yeah.
And I can't download programs on the school PC.
Right, because if it's gonna work, we're gonna take it away.
Yeah. So there's some trying to find a workaround because I do really like using the emulator.
Yeah.
Because a lot of kids have no idea how to use the calculator.
Yeah, and for me, it's almost like when somebody is showing on a big screen and they're like, okay, now you're gonna click this, and you're like, well, where's your mouse? I don't even know where you're clicking until it shows up. And I'm like, well, where were you? But I did also notice that your kids were really good about helping each other out. Leaning over to the person next to them and not grabbing their calculator and doing it for them, but literally holding the calculator and showing them exactly what they're doing. And I'm like, yeah, okay, because they're taking care of it. So that was just something I'm like, oh my gosh, if you had that, it'd be way easier for the kids to do exactly what you're doing.
Right.
But the fact that your other students were helping, I was like, oh yeah, okay. And they were even doing that with the whiteboard.
Absolutely. They do, that group of kids, as loud and crazy as they can get, they work together really well. And it doesn't matter what the group, the seating chart controls the volume, I think, but they still all work well together.
Yes.
So
yes,
that is quite refreshing.
Yeah, I think I've noticed that across all of our students, regardless of what class or what level. They are willing to, I'm gonna drag you along too. You're gonna know what I know, and if not, I'm gonna make sure you know that, or you get a chance to know that, I guess. Yeah. I like the fact that when you're walking around with the pink, were they formula charts or the unit circle?
Yes,
they were pink.
The formula charts.
And you're like, hey, if you're taking this test, you don't get to have this. I would suggest try not to use it. So that suggestion was hey, it's here, but when you take the test that matters at the end, it's going to be a no. And I was like, I mean, that's a good reminder because it's real easy to have that cheat sheet here and just totally be lazy about memorizing things, but you're not wrong. They don't get it.
Well, and because I have the dual credit and the AP kids co-seated in the same class, they have different expectations and requirements at the end of the year. So I try to do my best to make sure they understand what each of their independent requirements are, but still giving both of them the same opportunities for their high school grade.
Yeah.
So I had 2 kids that took the quiz over that lesson that didn't use the pink sheets at all. Like, didn't even take them out because they're kids that are going to take the AP test.
Okay.
And so, like, that's their choice.
Mm-hmm.
And I try to teach, like, make sure they understand that if they need it as a backup, they're more than welcome to use it, but encourage them to treat everything as if they're preparing for their AP exam.
Yeah, that's amazing.
So, yeah.
That's really great, because then it gets them a chance to try, but know that there is not a fail safe, but hey, I can grab this if I need it.
Just a backup.
As a learning tool. I thought it was funny when you were walking around at one point and you're like, hey, I'm seeing a lot of parentheses, and I need to tell you why that's not okay. So you saw that because I'm guessing a lot of them were using parentheses to do things, and you got up there and you modeled what are the parentheses, and I'm not going to lie, it's your idea what you said after that, other than here's the better way to notate it, and it was these squiggly lines. You said, but I don't like that, so just don't use any of it if you're going to do anything. And I was like, those squiggly lines look a mess. Like, in my head, I'm like, absolutely not. That's not going to happen. But if you're going to move a kid away from parentheses and they have a chance to do a squiggly line, I think some of them would take it. But you're like,
some of them
no.
like to feel fancy.
Yeah. And I'm like, how about just a box or just nothing?
Yep,
and then you
just
did
a
the
comma,
squigglies.
nothing else is just
Yeah.
good.
But you were able to walk around and say, hey, this means something totally different.
Yes, and mathematical communication is a big thing to make sure that they understand that what they are writing on their paper, every part of what they're writing on the paper has some sort of meaning mathematically, because sometimes I think they forget that.
Yes.
So
yeah, no, that makes sense, because something as simple as that will get them a wrong answer, and unfair if they did all the work.
Right, like I know that you know what you're doing, but an AP reader may not be able to follow that and doesn't what you wrote doesn't match what you intended the reader to read.
Yes, and they only grade on observation, like they're not. They don't know your brain.
They don't get to talk to you about it.
No,
so.
absolutely. Please explain what you meant by these. Yes. I also thought, I put right here loving kindness, but it's really a yes and no. So when they were holding up their board, you're like, yes, no, yes, and it was the same face.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
You didn't. It wasn't an angry face or oh my gosh, come on, you didn't know that answer, but it was a yes, no, yeah, all the same smile. I thought that was great.
I try to not. I mean, sometimes I have to go with the no because, like, no part of that is right. But try again.
Try again. You did say that often. Try again.
But I also like, okay, you're half right. We're halfway there.
Yes.
Like
Yes.
Like I feel like any encouraging words they can have in math is good at this point.
Absolutely. And you had said that during our pre-conference too, where if you can get them to feel successful.
Yes.
I mean, that's half the battle, because most people hate math and they've either always been good at it because they've never been challenged, or they've always been bad at it and everything feels like a challenge. So so the fact that you said that during the pre-conference, I was like, yeah, why shouldn't everybody feel successful, even if I got my multiplication facts right? Like, hey, that's a big thing. Some of my little note taking was just how many times you visited each table. So I drew little circles and I just kind of put a tally mark on each table that you visited. And surprisingly, like, listening to all the kids answer. So there was like table 1 and table 5 were, if I had to say, they were your students that were the most vocal. So like up at the front towards where you were teaching and then kind of back where I was sitting. Those 2 tables probably had the most vocal students at them.
Yes.
But I mean, looking at everywhere you were walking and visited, it's pretty even. There was one table you didn't go to too much, but it was almost like all the other kids were working so hard to figure things out. And there was one student almost like talking for the group, but really talking for herself.
Yes.
And it was fine because the other kids were working. And it was like you did walk over there and you noticed they were working, and then you're like, okay, I'm not going to interrupt. And like you kind of went to. So where I thought you would have walked is not where you walked the most. Because a lot of times teachers tend to walk to those places where the kids are already actively participating, and just because it feels good as a teacher to go to those tables where the kids are getting the right answers, you know? And so a lot of times teachers tend to do that. Like, that's where they're going to go because they're getting just as much feedback as you are giving them. If that makes sense.
Yeah. I think I have a tendency to do the opposite of that, though,
Okay.
when I'm using proximity
Uh-huh.
as a strategy. Because the kids that are more vocal and that are, like, quick to hold up the boards and do the things, I'm like, okay, they get it. I don't need to check in on them.
Uh-huh.
The tables that I'm seeing and hearing less from are the ones I want to, like, go peek and see what's happening and see if we are understanding and just not confident enough to say or show things, or, like, the ones I don't know are the ones I need to find out.
Yeah.
So
that makes sense. When you were, there came a point in the notes where you asked the students, okay, do y'all want to start with the easy practice or the hard? And I'm pretty sure that first one, they were like, easy. And so you pulled something out and then you were doing like, let's make this term just a letter so it looks easier. And then I was listening to a bunch of conversation here right next to me, and the kids were like, man, this is easy. Algebra was so easy. And they were rocking and rolling. And then you pulled out the hardest one of that practice. And it was a collective, oh my gosh, like, what is that? And then you had one student at this one table who got up and was like, guys, this is easy. Just substitute A and B. And one of the kids goes, where did you get the A and B? And he goes, literally, she just told us to use A for this and B for this. And he gets up on your vertical whiteboard and he starts literally doing the problem with the A's and B's. And you looked over there and you said, good job. And you walked away because you knew that's exactly what was there. So not only was his group looking, but then there was a group over here looking. And then I was like, yes, he feels comfortable enough to get up and help his students, or help his peers, I should say. And you were like, yes, do that. And you walked away and you were helping a different group. And I was like, yeah, okay. I thought it was so funny because he was just like, she just said it. What? And I'm thinking, oh, this is the struggle of all teachers everywhere. She just said it. So that was just real refreshing for me to see, because students are getting it. Like, we are saying the things. People just aren't listening all the time.
I think they're listening. I think sometimes they just don't see the connection. But
enough.
I do have, like, again, the confidence level in a class like that ranges, like, across the spectrum. And as much as the majority of them don't feel super confident in their math skills, I do have probably 3 or 4 out of the 27 that are like, I get this. I get it. It makes sense. The patterns click. And they are not shy about sharing what they know. And that's fantastic.
That's, yeah, I love that.
I do like to, okay, he's up at the board, let me make sure what he's doing.
Yes, you did double check. And then
Yeah.
you're like, okay, and then moved on, which
Yes.
is, I mean, that's fair, because if he sees
he's
something
doing-
wrong.
I'm like,
Yes. Yep.
But it was spot on, so I was like, yeah, carry on, do your thing.
Yes. You did a lot of I do, and then you do, and then the class, we all do. And I think that's perfect, because in math, like, it's really hard to say, hey, figure this out on your own if my basic algebra skills are not up to par. Like, I'm not going to figure it out on my own. So the way you do notes, a lot of people struggle with the sit and get type of notes. And for me, I find that sometimes that's the best way to deliver the hardest materials in a math class, in the beginning of science classes. Like, it is the easiest way to start the lesson because it is a foreign language. Math and science are foreign languages. So I'm going to do it, I'm going to show you, and then you're going to do it, or that we're going to do it, and then you're going to do it by yourself. I think that gives the students a chance to be successful early, and then figure out, hey, this is where I'm at. Can you tell me where I messed up? Because this is not the same answer you have. So you did a really good job towards the end of doing that, like walking around to those kids, hey, I'm stuck. But you were able to show them those beginning steps so that they could start working out, and then it helps them to visualize where they're stuck versus just always just writing down the answers.
Yeah.
Your pausing in your notes was really effective because it did give them a chance to write things down, and then you're explaining why, and then they're able to understand it. There was a lot of, oh, I see, in class, which is really fun to see.
I do appreciate the sound effects.
Yes, I think it is great. One, it's
Yeah.
just affirming to you, okay, I think they're
Okay.
getting it. Even if they're not answering out loud, it's a, oh, yeah. And then they, like, write it down again or whatever. How, in the lesson, how do you know when it's time to move to the next example?
Usually after we finish an example, and the number of examples that I do can vary from class to class. That class in particular doesn't sit still for long periods of time well.
Okay.
So they would rather do fewer examples and have more time to work independently while I'm answering questions and
Okay.
stuff. But when I finish an example, I try to give the kids time to kind of process what they've seen and written down, and ask for questions they have, which they don't always have questions because they don't always know what questions to ask.
Oh, yeah.
So I like to say things like, does anybody have, like, does anyone need something clarified or need to know why we did a step? Trying to give them more direction to figure out what questions they have.
Yeah, okay.
Because when you look at the whole process, sometimes it's like I can see how you got there, but I wouldn't be able to do this myself.
Yeah.
So kind of giving them a, hey, on these first two steps, did I lose anyone? Is there anything happening? And this would probably be, now that I'm thinking about it, a good opportunity to use like a pair share kind of a strategy, where you're like, hey, make sure everybody at your table, or make sure your partner knows what we did from this step to this step and why.
Yeah.
I think I hesitate to do that in that class because the volume level gets so loud when I say talk.
Yeah.
And getting them back on, like just going to that place and getting them back for the next step is difficult. But that, I think I may try that strategy in some of the other classes to see how it works.
Yeah. Sometimes too, like your verbal cue, hey, I'm going to have you turn and share with your partner. I'm going to give you 20 seconds.
Oh, okay.
And then at 10, you have 10 seconds. And so now you might interrupt their thinking, but let's be honest, they're probably only going to talk about the math for 10 seconds.
Yeah.
And then just visit. And it's okay, 5, you have 5 seconds. So this way it's you might have a little less time.
Right.
That they're like,
but at least they
crazy.
talked about the math for 5 seconds.
And that's fine. Like that's the point.
That's the goal.
Yes.
Okay.
So that might be some type of verbal cue that you can give. 20 seconds is all you're going to get.
Okay.
And
I
the first
I
couple
actually really like that.
And the first couple times you do that, like, it's 20 seconds hard. Like 20, 10, 5, okay, let's move on. So that they know you mean business. We are really going to move on to the next topic. And then as they get, I'm not gonna say more comfortable, but as you go on, if it's, you hear that they're still talking about it.
About the math.
Then you kind of fudge the time.
Right.
20 seconds could be 40 and they have zero idea that it was 40 seconds.
Absolutely.
But then and that gives you an opportunity to walk around and gather some information that may be incorrect or that you could share with the group because this is what somebody else said.
Right.
So it gives you almost like a formative type feedback for them. So that just might be a way to do that. Okay, with that, and I was going to ask you this kind of to wrap it up, but what else would you change about the lesson if you needed to change it at all?
I really like the idea of the kids being up at the vertical whiteboards.
Okay.
working in groups of 3, 2 or 3, because I think they get off topic less when they're at the vertical whiteboards, because there's an accountability factor when anybody can see what you're doing.
Oh yeah, that makes sense.
But that class is big.
Yeah, there would be a lot of tall
And
students
so
everywhere.
I do have I have several over 6 feet. But and maybe it's something I'm just one of the days I'm just gonna have to like let go of the control to see what happens.
That is so
But
funny.
But I think doing things like that gives the kids more opportunity to teach each other.
Yeah.
And work through some things. Like, I think one of the last example where I was like, they said, "Oh, let's do the hard one."
Yeah.
Like putting them in the groups of 3 and putting them up at the boards to work on it instead of having them do it independently.
Yeah.
Could be a way more of them would be engaged in the learning process of it, even if they got stuck, because then they can also see what other people are trying and doing. So
you could also do it not even the whole class at once. So groups 1 and 3, you guys are at these boards. You're gonna work this problem. Everybody else is still working the problem, but they're up there. And so 1, they can still look off of each other, but 2, you can like see them both at the same time kind of thing. And then the next problem, okay, groups 4 and 5, you guys are going to be at these boards, ready to go. And then because if it is your biggest class, I mean, it's gonna look like a wall of just individuals all over the place, which may be overwhelming for everybody. I don't know.
I think there's several of the teachers that use the vertical whiteboard, so I don't know that. I think it would be more overwhelming for me than it would be for kids.
Oh, okay. Because they've done it in like previous years.
Right.
Okay.
Yes.
That makes sense.
So.
That makes sense. That's kind of fun. You did have like, I don't even know how many. All I saw was lots of whiteboards everywhere. How many groups do you have potentially?
I have 10 groups. Like I have 10 spaces, and I have one extra kind of makeshift weird little space that I can use if I need 11 groups.
Okay. Yeah.
And I have some, they're just close in proximity because I've taken like a giant whiteboard and split it into 3.
Oh, okay.
And with the way our desks are, there's not always a lot of room between the desks and the whiteboards. So, but I think it's definitely worth trying, and I think the kids would actually appreciate it.
Yeah, just different, like being sitting
just
down
because
versus
it's
standing
different.
up. Yeah, just because it's different. Don't do it one too many times because they'll probably complain. But just it's different during like even if you did it one time during the next lesson or twice during the lesson after that, like it's just one they don't really expect it, but then they're like, hey, when can we try this on the boards? Like standing up, like they might even come to want to do
I
it
have
more.
lots of kids that like doing the stuff at the boards.
Yeah.
Because they do it more in the smaller classes.
Okay. It's a little bit less overwhelming too, because I understand. Your class seems big but little.
Yeah, like it's
like I've been in other classrooms and they're small and they seem small, and yours is like it seems big but not big.
But not. Yeah. It's weird.
So, and I don't know if it's because you have windows on one side and windows on the other, or like I don't have any idea.
Yeah.
But so who knows? Well, thank you for letting me come and see your class.
Anytime.
Thanks. I'm gonna take you up on that.